Welcome back to the Tailosive Movie Review Podcast with me, your co-host again, Mike. I think I know who I am now, except I need to get this dang suit off of me. And I'm also joined by the one and only Drew. How's it going, Drew?
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me back after all these movies. We've come to our almost last, I think, at least of this plot line until No Way Home comes out. Dang.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. Way. Yeah, I was thinking when I was watching not No Way Home, that's not out yet as of the time that we're recording this, but as I was watching Far From Home last night, I was realizing, wow, we watched all the way through Toby and Andrew that quickly? Because it seemed like it took forever to get through Toby, which is 3 movies, so a whole bunch of campy comedy.
Right.
Which I wasn't a fan of. You can tell from the past podcasts. And then Andrew just went real quick. So now it's
6 movies? Tom. Now we're on. This is the 7th Spider-Man we've gone through. My goodness.
That is correct.
And it's the first time he's not in New York.
For once, we're not in New... Well, yeah. I mean, he was in Washington, D.C. in Homecoming, but that was for like a little bit. But
okay.
Yeah.
He's out of America.
We get Spider-Man UK without Spider-Man UK, which is a comic with Spider-Man in the UK.
Uh-huh.
But instead, it's Spider-Man just visiting Europe and not necessarily the UK, or at least parts of the UK that people usually think about.
Right. Change of pace.
Yeah. Drew, what did you think of this 7th? Did we say 6th or 7th
Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was not... I don't think I liked it as much as Homecoming, having watched them back to back now. I think that the suspension of disbelief was a little bit higher on this one, of plot inconsistencies and just trying to wrap my brain around what's going on. I had a harder time getting into it just because I was like... I think we were falling a little bit more back on the villain without great motivations train, because I feel like they are all these, disgruntled Stark former employees. It's like, okay, you came up with this great hologram tech and you have all these ideas for how the world should work, and you're kind of fed up with all the superheroes getting attention and the engineers being looked over. But at the same time, you're like comfortable killing kids left and right. And you're just like, well, this is what the world needs. We got to kill everybody. So it's like, I'm evil for the sake of we need someone to be evil. And it's just a very intricate plot. I think out of all the Spider-Man films, this is probably one of the hardest to explain and kind of dive into, because the first half of the movie, they have to explain this whole fake background. Understand, we think Mysterio is this superhero from another world and he's from this alternate reality and the multiverse is real, and on my planet there's these elementals that have all the wind, fire, and earth elements,
and Marvin Gaye
that we use to fight against humans for some reason, and we lost that battle, and we're trying to prevent it from happening on this world. You got to explain that whole backstory, only to 20 minutes later say, actually, none of that's real. That's all made up. And the truth is, these are all a bunch of former Stark employees. One that Jeff Bridges yelled at like 15 years ago. We got that guy to come back and help us, kill kids and kill people so we can...
But Drew, they gotta make people believe.
They gotta believe.
That was like his last line. Jake Gyllenhaal's whole entire Mysterio motif at the end was just like, people, they have to believe in something. And then,
what are we believing in? Exactly.
Killing kids and thwarting the masses, I guess.
Right. Well, I like the visuals. I mean, it was an interesting nightmare situation where Peter's like, seeing a bunch of duplicates of himself and he can't tell what's real from what's fake. And I like that idea, but there was still a lot of suspension because having known the twist now going into this movie, I was thinking, where's all this water coming from? When the first like water monster appears, there's like, you know, people are getting splashed, and there's obviously a bunch of, you know, water getting spilled on everything. And I was like, are the drones like squirting water on everybody in the process?
So that's something confusing that I noted as well. That was maybe a little bit of a plot hole. Is that somehow Mysterio's team already had a few of these Stark drones.
Yes.
They knew about him, and they somehow got a few. I don't know whether it's just because one employee siphoned him over to Quentin Beck.
Right.
But they somehow had a bunch. So they had enough to at least cause destruction to the city of Venice and Prague and everywhere else, while also selling the point that, oh, these elementals are real. Mm-hmm. So I guess it works. But without knowing that, and like them kind of showing like it's really important that they get Edith, so that way they can have a giant army of drones, then they could sell something big versus something small. I guess it kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, wait, hold on. How was he flying before, but he can't fly? So that was a CGI Quentin Beck, but he was so close to Peter that Peter somehow didn't notice, so the illusion tech's really good, but also my brain hurts. Yeah,
it's a very intricate, very, very complicated plot that they kind of bunch together here. And I think there's a lot of meta moments where they're like, you know, can you be the new Iron Man, the new Tony Stark? Who can live up to that? And I feel like that's what the Marvel fan base was kind of looking at Peter as, because this is the first Marvel film after Endgame, and it definitely shows. They're trying to pack in a lot of trauma that, you know, everyone experienced during the blip, but they're kind of passing it off comedically, which I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, it's funny. Seeing all the kids come back and they're still playing band, but there's a game going on, so they get hit. Or the guy saying, "My wife pretended to be blipped, but she just ran off with some guy." So they played it off comedically, but I still think there probably could have been a lot more serious drama involved with the process of everyone on Earth, or half the people on Earth, going away and coming back. And it is, of course, very convenient that all our main characters got blipped. They kind of had
except
to
for
do
Brad,
that.
but I guess Brad's not really a main character. But
yeah, that's true.
Or I was thinking about that as well. Like, how convenient that we got so many people that we know in this Marvel universe blipped.
Yes,
but I guess there's a few others that aren't in this movie, like Cassie Lang, who's Ant-Man's daughter, got blipped, and they aged her up, and a couple other people as well.
Sure.
So, yeah, the proportion's a little bit off, but it works to drive. I mean, it makes more sense, I'd say, to keep all the Spider-Man characters the same age together, or else it's kind of awkward if MJ's a whole lot older than Peter.
It would throw
a little
things
bit
off.
like, whoa, easy, Tiger.
Yeah. I get why they did it, but it's just kind of, everything needs to fall into place in a certain way, shape, or form. Also, the trickiest thing I have a hard time wrapping my head around is how the drones project black. I don't quite grasp that concept of, like, we project darkness all around you in a 3D way, so you can't see.
It's also weird how they project it around you, right? They're projecting it onto thin air.
Yes.
In some cases. But then one could argue, well, it's actually projecting onto your eyes. So then does that mean you're just constantly being blinded by a projector? Because if you look into a projector that is streaming like a black image, it's still bright in your eyes, because it has to use brightness, or at least illumination, to show black. So you're still being blinded. So I don't know. There is a lot of suspension of belief, but it does open up a whole lot of really cool fight scenes, like you mentioned before, with the embassy fight, and then also the final fight, and then a whole lot of other stuff with like Quentin Beck trying to go over like the plan of the fight, and like the really cool still images of like Mysterio fighting the elemental final boss, basically.
Right, and he's editing it. He's like scrolling through the fight.
Change Hold that. On. speed it up, more damage. There we go. We're good.
That's an original approach. Haven't really seen a villain like this before that I can think of. So I appreciate the uniqueness of it and how original it came across. I thought the scene where he starts giving toasts and explaining everyone's backstory felt a little slapped on. It's like, you all know this, but I'm going to repeat it anyway because the audience is watching now. And I did. It almost felt like Tony Stark was in this movie, despite him not being in it at all. He's like constantly referenced. Even dead, I'm the hero, and they talk about him all the time, and there's flashbacks with him in it of like, I developed
a mural every city.
Yeah, they have paintings of him everywhere. So it, as much as RDJ didn't want to do Marvel anymore, he still very much feels present in the universe because everyone's talking about him nonstop, which I like. But it does feel a little weird that he kind of handed off this like drone strike technology to a high schooler. It's like accidentally setting it off on Brad, and it's. And also that there's no like fail safe. Like Tony didn't design some kind of way of checking is all of my Stark drones being used to kill people. What's happening with my technology? No, just whoever happens to be wearing the glasses, they have complete control. So
yeah, it's strange how Peter didn't do the same thing that he did in the last movie with like a training wheels protocol or initiative or whatever.
That's true.
Like, that would have been nice.
That would have been smart.
It is interesting how Peter's like, he's reading this note, one of the last notes that Tony's probably handwritten.
Yes.
And it says, hey, you're in charge, or like, to the next Iron Man, I choose you, or whatever. Peter's just like, I don't know what this means. You know what? It probably means that I'm the guy looking for Iron Man. Where's the next Iron Man? Hello? I think you look good. No, it's. I don't know. I would think if Peter looked more into it, he would find that no, he meant you. It's just you need to pace yourself, bud. Like,
right.
The world's pushing for a new Iron Man real quick, but that doesn't mean you have to step up immediately. And why would he give you the glasses, or trust to give you the glasses, to give them to someone else?
Right.
He already proved in the last movie, or at least when you first got the Stark suit, that it's all on you. It's all about worthiness. It's all about, if I find you worth, or at least like if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it.
Right.
So if you're nothing without the glasses, then you don't deserve them. But he's giving them to him, so he's like, okay, you deserve it.
He knighted him. You're an Avenger now. In the last,
yeah, I guess that's something that we can also touch on as well, is that we've got, I guess, 2 Avenger movies in between this.
Right. There's a lot that happened. You can't just watch the Spider-Man films anymore. You have to kind of fill in the blanks of what goes on in between now. Just kind of different, but I like what they've done with the characters, I'd say. I think him feeling this pull between, everyone wants him to be the new lead of the Avengers versus him wanting to just focus on MJ. That was the character growth stuff I liked. I was like, this feels organic. It feels natural. And
the MJ thing seemed pretty quick, though. At least the romance budding. Like, in the last movie, it barely was even touched on, or not even. It was kind of just like this one girl that was in the debate team.
She's just in the background. Right.
Yeah, and immediately, like, first scene with Ned and Peter, it's like, I'm going to make a plan to go out with MJ. It's like, when did this interaction? I guess it's been a few years, but still, like,
that's true. Yeah, it did kind of get started quick. They realized with how complex this plot is, we don't have any time. We need to rush to everything. Okay, he's interested in MJ. I guess I was okay with that because I was like, okay, you called her MJ. We know exactly where this is going. We don't. There's no mystery involved here. Yeah. We get it. But the dilemma involved makes sense to me. Of just like, everyone wants me to be this, but I want to just be with her, and he's doing his best to be like, let's all go to the opera house, just stay way over here for 4 hours. But they all leave anyway, and they get right into harm's way. I was like, yeah, that would happen. That sounds believable. They still
Ned's
got
a bit pushy in this movie. He's very much like, it's all up to you. Our lives are in your hands, Peter. Save us. And Peter's like, okay.
Right.
I just want to give a necklace to a girl I like.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm just being thrust in this situation where I need to save people, and Nick Fury's mad at me. Mm-hmm. And there's this guy who looks cool, but he's from a different Earth. And
sure.
We're in Europe, so things are also a little bit confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Ned was good at points, but he didn't really feel like the guy in the chair anymore, even though he's like, I'm still the guy in the chair, right?
No,
like,
he didn't.
He didn't seem like he was in that position anymore. It was more of, actually, Happy was more the guy in the chair in this case.
Yeah, that's true. He was kind of motivating him and giving him the pep talk, and then trying to get in a relationship with his aunt, which was hilarious. I love that scene when they're all hiding in the vault and they're all confessing, I just do it so people will like me, and I'm interested in Spider-Man's aunt. And they all look at him. That was good. I like Jon Favreau in these movies. They kind of treated Happy as comic relief originally, but I like that they're kind of giving him more of a personality and a purpose moving forward. It's a nice bridge because he was in the original Iron Man and he's still in these movies, but he's got kind of a prideful personality, when he says, not for Spider-Man, I work with Spider-Man. and he's got the jet and the suit manufacturing thing that they just keep on the jet for some reason. I don't know how often they use it, but it's there.
Mm-hmm. He's almost like a really technologically advanced Uncle Ben. In this case, we never got an Uncle Ben with Tom Holland, or at least I don't think we will, at least in No Way Home. I don't think Uncle Ben's going to randomly appear.
Yeah.
But he's almost like the smart or like the wise Uncle Ben that is just Tony Starkified, or at least has some of that connection, which I like. It's giving a father figure to Peter when his most recent father figure passed away because Thanos was a jerk. And I guess they didn't want to pay RDJ anymore because he was asking large sums of money.
Yes.
But it was still cool. And what's it called? The 3D printing suit machine that's also like a cradle I thought was neat. Thinking back on Ultron, where, again, another Marvel movie that we'll maybe cover in the future at some point. But the cradle made the skeleton that was Vision's. I thought, that's pretty cool. And it's almost like adapted in this movie to making suits.
Right.
And there's also like the holograms, kind of like with what Tony had in his huge mansion, but now is like on a small scale. And so I thought it was almost it was a nice, well-deserved callback to like, here's everything that Tony worked on, like all the suits that he made, this armor around the world that he wanted to build has come to fruition, but like this is like the small scale version of it. Yeah. And it's still amazing. You can create a really fantastic suit in the back of a jet that can hover over a lily field or whatever that destroys it. But
why are they in the lily field? I don't know.
They were hovering over it for like 15 minutes, and we already saw it very like when Happy flew and he was destroying those flowers with how close he was flying. I'm like, no, not the lilies, or I guess flowers or whatever it was.
No, I like that it was like a bomber version of a F-35, which was like one of my favorite jets growing up. It had the same like lift fan tech, and it had kind of a similar look. I was like, it's a cool looking jet, and they blow it up in like 10 minutes. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But
it was a bit of an OP jet, right? Like it had a armor making cradle in it. It also had like autonomous flight. It had beautiful like Rolls Royce like interior or whatever.
Yeah. VTOL.
Pagani. Yeah, it was also VTOL as well. Like this thing could do anything. It also could fly up as high as it wants or whatever. Like,
to me, that's more believable than giant invisible, cargo plane that also can lift vertically. It's like or an aircraft carrier that can fly. Wrapping my brain around that.
A lot of concrete and then huge giant turbofans.
Why does it need to look like an aircraft carrier if it's gonna fly? could design it probably much lighter if you if you're not going to be.
I
think
we
ocean.
Only saw like a jet fly off of those helicarriers once or twice.
Yeah.
So like, we get that you want to like mimic the comics, but maybe downscale a little bit to like preserve some realism. But I don't know, maybe it looks more real with like an aircraft carrier design because you're like, oh, that looks real, but it's actually just got 4 fans on the corner. And it's,
doesn't matter at all, but it probably would have worked better as like a Zeppelin type design.
Yeah.
Where you have big, helium or hydrogen tanks that lift everything up instead of just fans spin very fast for hours and hours. And that'll lift the entire like boat that's also like the heaviest boat on Earth.
Yeah. I guess getting back to the movie.
Yeah.
What I did find cool that you kind of touched on is I like the callbacks that they do as well. It's not just callbacks to Tony's, or I guess the Iron Man movies, but it's also like a callback to Civil War when Quentin Beck, of course, giving his giant exposition speech, is like, yeah, that cool hologram stuff that's kind of close to what we're doing? Yeah, I developed that, but then Tony just bought it and then called it barf.
That's all it was used for. I guess I was trying to think about that. I was like, is Tony often looked at as the bad guy in these films, especially by the villains? In the first one, they're like, yeah, this is all rigged. He's getting paid despite making this big mess in New York. And this one, he's like, I had great ideas, and Tony threw them out. I was like, is there a useful, marketable use case for this technology, or can it really only be used in deceptful, evil ways? The hologram tech. I'm trying to think of a good way to use that, but all I can think of is what Mysterio thought of, which is make it look like cities are under attack so you can come in and save the day. Not sure how that could have been used effectively. So maybe Tony was right. You are unstable, and I don't know how to use this tech effectively. So get it out of here. It's barf.
It's like air power.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know how to use this. I don't know how it's gonna work, but never mind. I guess we'll can it. It is interesting though that this is the second movie where Spider-Man's kind of cleaning up after Tony.
Yep.
Where in the first one it's Tony's still alive, but he's cleaning up after Tony's kind of mistake of like taking over the damage control business, and then now in this it's all these ex-employees of Tony Stark are now back, and now you have to figure it out, Peter. It might be a little bit refreshing in No Way Home, even though it's going to be a giant multiversal event, or it seems like it is.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to pull the rug out from underneath their feet this time in No Way Home versus Far From Home, where they're like, is it multiverse? You don't know. No, it's not actually.
Yeah, that one, you can't get away with it as easily. But No Way Home should be the first time Stark isn't like constantly referenced.
Yeah, which might be a little bit more refreshing because we'll actually get like Spider-Man having to deal with his own stuff. I guess we'll have Happy, but
true.
My only hope after watching Far From Home is that Happy doesn't die in No Way Home. Like it seems like they might tee him up for death just because he got a lot of cool screen time in this and a little bit in the past one, and he's been like a mentor to Spider-Man. And what better way to like make Spider-Man like go to such low lows? Why am I going up with my hand?
There's got to be sacrifice. There's got to be loss, right? That's the theme, especially with all the third Spider-Man. Someone goes,
choose Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Happy or MJ?
Yeah, he could have that exact same thing. He's going for MJ, no doubt. But someone's probably gonna die. I don't know who, but makes sense given the stakes involved. It'd be kind of weird if no one died, I guess, other than all the villains, which Doctor Strange was openly saying, all these people died fighting Spider-Man. It's their destiny. It's like, spoilers, Steve. Come on.
Buddy, I still need to watch the rest of the Spider-Man movies, even though only, I think, 1 or 2 of them actually die. Come on.
Yeah,
man.
A lot of them die by their own fruition.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do with them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. As of this moment as well, we still haven't gotten anything in regards to if Andrew and Toby are in the movie. I'm pretty sure they're going to be. But
I'm fairly certain. I'll be surprised if they're not, to be honest. I'll be like, oh, that would have been a good opportunity.
Think about it now. Tony Stark's still in No Way Home in a way, like with Doc Ock's nanotech arms.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Then Electro's arc reactor generator on his suit. I don't know if you've seen that, but he's got an arc reactor on his chest. But
there will be references likely. All these years.
So maybe we're not fully off the leash from Tony Stark at this point.
How long has it been? 2 years? It's been over 2 years since Endgame.
Yeah. And we're still talking about Tony Stark.
We're still talking about Tony.
And then we're getting like longer. 2 TV shows related to Tony Stark as well, with Ironheart and Armor Wars. So.
Oh, right. Huh.
It never ends. They're never going to stop milking Iron Man, I guess.
I always thought that scene in Civil War where he looks at his younger self and it's all CG. I always thought that was Marvel's way of showing Robert Downey Jr. We don't need you for this. We have you on file. We can do what we want. But no, there's probably something in his contract that prohibits the CG recreation. But there might be some flashbacks or something. I don't know. I realized we didn't give this movie a score. How would you rate it?
Yeah, I was going to delay it till the end because I forgot, I guess we didn't talk about it in the beginning. Okay. But I guess we'll do it now.
Yeah, let's just do it.
I'd say, the villain sells it for me. But, yeah, the story's a little bit tough, but it's cool. I'd say it's a 6.6. It's 0.1 above, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in my book. Amazing villain, I guess we can tell now, or at least I can be a little bit more transparent on this, but I'm a big villain guy. I love villains. Yeah. Joker was interesting to me. It was very much a psychological, thriller in a way, and very, very creepy at times. But I enjoyed the amount of depressing as well, but the amount of work that they put into the villain there I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah. No, I love
that's what
Joker.
They kind of do with Mysterio as well. Maybe he might not have a very concrete motive, but he's got something that at least makes sense, like an ex-employee who has trouble and ends up doing his own thing. I guess it's kind of the same almost as Vulture, but a little bit less noble.
Somewhat.
Anyways, probably 6.6. The villain sells it for me, and I like the boldness that they went in the direction of the movie with taking it to Europe instead of just putting it back in New York or something else.
Yeah, they mixed it up a bit. Probably, I'd give it a 6. I don't remember what I gave Homecoming, if it was a 7.
I think a 7.
Yeah, I would put it slightly lower, but still not bad. It's competent. It was well executed, and definitely not having the same moments I had with Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire, where I'm laughing at the movie unintentionally, just because something is corny or cheesy. That wasn't happening with this. It still feels like a vision with a concrete idea, and they're doing their best to execute it. And it's not flawless, but it's well done. Still, I like the music, although maybe not as recognizable as the Hans Zimmer music. I still appreciate the how intricate it is. It feels like this is the bridge before No Way Home, where they're trying to introduce very, very complex plot lines to this Spider-Man fan base of okay, then this happens, now throw all that out, that's not real. And you have to introduce all these, like that whole nightmare sequence still is really impressive to me. I was like, that was kind of difficult to wrap my brain around, because he thinks he's out of it, and then Fury shows up and says, who did you tell? Just MJ and Ned, and then it's actually him again. It's what is real? I can't tell anymore. I was like, it was throwing my mind for a whirlwind, and the fact that Fury was getting dissuaded, and I like the responsibility argument without having to say with great power comes with great responsibility. They just kind of...
It was very cold shoulder from Nick Fury in terms of the responsibility.
Yes.
Speech. It was very much hey, you gotta be a superhero, dude, come on.
Yeah, you better. But then he's not good at it, and he's like, you're not very good at this, and he's like, I didn't want to be here. I didn't agree with him on that one. Nick was pushing it a tad too hard. But
yeah, I guess going back to the embassy scene, it took him, I think, like 7 months to actually go through all the CGI for that, which is insane. But it makes sense with every single frame that you like scrub through in that moment, like with like Mysterio taking off his head or whatever, and like it being like a snow globe with Spider-Man stuck in there with Stark Tower and everything, or I guess Avengers Tower. Amazing. But yeah, as well, like it definitely gets both into the audience's head and Spider-Man's head in that moment where you're like, what is real? How would you react in a situation where like you're walking along and of course like, I don't know, this dude shoots a beam at you and you've got superpowers, so you're like, oh, I'll shoot a beam back, and it turns out you accidentally hit someone, or you hit a building, which then comes crashing down on you, which kind of happens with Spider-Man. Like, he web slings at like a crane, or no, at Mysterio and pulls it,
but then a crane comes down.
It falls down. It looks like on the outside, Spider-Man's causing a whole bunch of damage.
Yeah.
And collateral
or he goes to punch him and it's just a concrete pillar.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, like he goes full-fledged like into the punch and instead just gets his hand destroyed.
Yeah.
Which
my wife was asking, like, how did he have time to set all this up? You know, did he get a 3D scan of MJ as well? Like, let's get a deep fake of her voice because I'm planning this 5-second shot where I'm gonna hold her in front of him, and he'd be like, it's not real, is it though? And then she screams.
I don't know. Quentin Beck's team is amazing. Whoever they are, they're like Apple on steroids or something like that, where
they should go work in Hollywood. They shouldn't be killing people. They'd be great visual effects.
They could make a scene within like a couple hours, apparently. Like, oh, Spider-Man's having issues with like not wanting to work for Fury, and he just wants to be with this girl, and now he's sitting on top of a roof. Let's have Mysterio fly up and give him a pep talk, but it's actually was it Quentin Beck isn't there, it's actually just a hologram. And then the same here, it's like, did they somehow find a way to deepfake MJ and then also got
what if Peter had reached for Mysterio during that pep talk scene?
I mean, it would have been just like him trying to grab and then not working. But yeah, and then I guess
that'd have been kind of bizarre. He's like, "Well, I appreciate you." Whoa! His hand goes right through it. Wait a second.
I guess you'd say, multiverse issue. Or at least my magic. I don't let people touch me because of my magic. I don't like people touching me.
Touch me, but
there's no hugging.
Or they lifted him up on the drone, and the drones were like erased, and that was actually him. I don't know, but they do everything at a moment's notice. I just want to know where all the water came from. That's my question. And
they
how
had drones with a whole bunch of water bags on them. I don't know
how they emulate like fire damage. You know, like the debris would have probably shown different kinds of, structural damage if it's just a bunch of guns being fired, or how they do sound. You know, do all these drones have speakers on them that make the sounds of the monster?
I would think so, with like the giant ultrasonic boom things that they have near the end of the movie.
Right.
I would think they're able to, cancel out or like sound dampen the sound of gunshots or cannons, basically. It sounds like they've got like 50 cals on these things.
Really intricate.
And then sub in whatever sound that they want, whether it's like a claw going through wood, or not wood, but stone, or something else. But I don't know.
This is something else.
It's a something else of a movie. I mean, it's really cool, like visually, but then once you kind of dive deep into it, you're like, hold on, wait, if these are all drones, and then it all just falls apart from there.
They kind of addressed your complaint of the Homecoming, which was that the finale was kind of anticlimactic and not really that big a fight. This one has a very huge spectacle to wrap up with, where he's like bouncing up against like a million drones, and he's got to kill all of them, and then he's got to use his Peter Tingle to fight through the darkness, and he knows exactly when Mysterio is trying to deceive him, and he knows exactly where to grab at the exact right second and everything, which is a cool visual.
Like I think that was one of the coolest scenes in the movie. Is like him actually fully realizing the Peter tingle, which it took us this long to get to Spidey sense, but whatever. But he's able to like figure it out near last second, which is kind of like Spider-Man, right? Like, oh,
yep.
Whoa.
I have it.
Does it in a fantastic fashion that like it. I don't know. It was almost like a graduation for me of like from kind of like the kid Spider-Man to like more of a matured Spider-Man, like maybe in college in a way, where he's a little bit more serious. Still kind of has the the quips, but isn't really as novice as we thought, which maybe tease him up for No Way Home in a way.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It was a very serious scene. There's a guy trying to kill him with a gun, but he's got illusion tech, and Peter can't see him visually, but his sixth sense can. So he's able to save himself and the rest of London, which is it's pretty neat. I don't know.
It was not something we'd seen before. It's definitely more refreshing than Mad Scientist Who Talks to Himself, which is a lot of Spider-Man villains. Just like, for the greater good, I'm a certain color now, you know. For like Doc Ock's whole motivation for clean energy. We have the energy crisis. We must address this.
Oh my goodness.
So this was a bit more motivation than that, but I think a little bit weaker than Vulture's. Although he was still failing quite a bit, which I appreciate. Like, they really harped on that point a lot in Homecoming of just like, he's not very good at being Spider-Man, and he makes a lot of mistakes, and he's fairly flawed. And this one he does too. He's like, you know, Mysterio is fighting the water elemental, and Pete's just trying to like stop a building from falling over, and he fails.
That's his whole thing. Yeah, it falls over anyways. He scratches
he still
a few
didn't get it.
roofs.
So Mysterio's like, "Yeah, good work, bud." And I was like, "What? What did he do? He did. He like didn't die. That was his whole accomplishment."
He's really strong and sticky, though.
Yeah, strong and sticky. Exactly. Yeah, it was until the end. By the end, he's like flawless. You know, he's got a million guns shooting at him, and he dodges every bullet. And he runs out of web shooters, but then he bounces up with his shield, and you know, gets to hit everything just at the right exact time. So he's nearing that point of like mature Spider-Man, I think. But that's of course when the plot's all mixed up again, because I almost felt, I could be wrong on this, but in the end when he's back in New York and he's just kind of swinging around, and then he takes MJ swinging around, it almost felt like a producer mandate. I don't know if it was.
We gotta get Spider-Man swinging through New York, because that's Spider-Man.
That was the vibe I was getting. I was like, this feels kind of tacked on, and it makes me wonder if a producer was like, well, you need a scene where he's swinging around New York with MJ, you know? That I just... And you could see the original writer being like, no, we want to be different. We want to be in Europe, and we want to mix things up, and we don't want to be cliche. But there was some guy with a cigar, you know, nah, you need some swinging through New York scene. You need some scene with these swinging MJ, because he swings her around, and there's a good, I would say like 2 minutes of him just like swinging around the city, not necessarily doing anything. And it was a cool scene, but I was definitely getting that vibe of, oh, we're back to Spider-Man again. This is what I remember from the Maguire and Garfield universe, is swinging around the skyscrapers. And we didn't really get that much in Homecoming. It felt like he was in more suburban.
In rural suburb. Yeah, he was very much like, oh crap, there's only a few trees between me and my destination.
He was neighborhood Spider-Man.
The friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But I guess I'll just ride on top of this taxi or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I like that kind of in this way. Like, he's learned, I can't always swing from point A to point B. I guess I'll take a ride on top of this bus or something like that.
And he's got wings
or at one
now,
point,
so he can fly.
Nice little wingsuit.
They fly now.
They fly now?
Which it felt a little tacked on, but I was fine with it because it felt like a return home. We're back home. It's like, okay, this is what Spider-Man is. We're homecoming. And then right after he takes MJ with him, which my wife was like, doesn't that make her an easy target? Like, everyone can see him with MJ.
Well, when
now.
they stop in the middle of the road, or not road, but sidewalk, and start talking, then people are like, "Whoa, why is Spider-Man talking with this one girl
but
for
the
so long?"
First thing she says is like, "I'm never doing that again. That was awful."
Which I thought was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, she recognizes, this isn't for me, rather than like, well, I guess
Very
maybe
realistic.
MJ and Tobey Maguire maybe was like, maybe not, but at least like in this, it's very realistic of like, this looked cool and sounded cool. This is terrifying.
Yeah.
No thanks.
You'd get sick so quickly. The inertia would be terrifying. So yeah, her reaction was very genuine. It felt like they didn't even tell Zendaya what to say.
Well, they put them on a, what's it called, a 100-foot like not zip line, but swing. I believe.
I remember them filming,
watching or hearing about that. I'm like, whoa! They put 2 A-list actors on a swing, a really big swing.
I don't think they told her what to say. I think that was her genuine. She's just like, oh my god,
just give genuine reaction.
Yeah. But it also felt like a great way for the screenwriter to be like, see, we're not going to do this again. No, that was a one-time thing. Unless she's in peril.
I guess kind of segueing into this scene where it's the after credit scene when they're also in New York, and we get a nice cameo of J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh my god, I screamed in the theater. I wish you could have been there. Me and Dan were watching it, and we all just went, yeah! We all like cheered at the top of our lungs.
I believe when I watched it in theaters with my wife, it was very much the same. Like, oh my goodness, they did it! He's back.
The first
J. Jonah Jameson's back.
The first cinematic appearance of J. Jonah since Spider-Man 3.
Insane, right? It's been, I think, 2007 to 2019. So
wow,
it's been a while since we've seen him.
Yeah, it had been, and I'm so glad that everyone agreed we cannot get anyone else to play him. If someone's gonna play J. Jonah, it has to be J.K. Simmons, which is true. Except now, it felt like they were going for I don't know if you got this vibe, but I got an InfoWars type approach.
It was very much Alex Jones, but it was also, again, like another plot hole. It's like, okay, we're going to show this guy's final moments on this billboard in New York. Yes. And then also put on this InfoWars guy on the big screen as well. Like, it would just be right more there. Of like, here's the news, or like, check out this news at 5 o'clock regarding Spider-Man murder. Or, I don't know.
He's a menace.
Menace.
Yeah, that was a great way to end on a cliffhanger, I would say.
They ended the same way that they did with the last movie, though. It's another Parker being like, what the?
Yeah, wait a second. Although this one is, I'd say, a lot higher stakes because they're saying it in front of everybody. Spider-Man's literally right there in the populated area. And they're like, by the way, he's Peter Parker. And those were all his drones, which I had kind of forgot that detail.
They edited the scene of him being like, execute the whatever, like, stop the drones. Instead, Williams or whatever his name is.
Which makes me wonder, I thought the Spidey suit was recording everything. Wouldn't there be a verifiable way of saying, like, no, that was tampered with. Here's the real. I mean, Nick Fury could be like, okay, we know Mysterio is evil, so don't trust his edited footage that he sent to it.
Yeah, but he's not here. It's Ben Mendelsohn's Talos that is Nick
someone
Fury.
knows, right? I mean,
maybe, but like it's just one word against the other. Like if Spider-Man's like, no, here, look at my video. Then people are like, well, how do we know this is real? And then it's like, well, how do you know the other one's real?
I'd say it's up for debate at least. It shouldn't be looked at as verifiable that they're. Well, I think they're going to touch on that. I didn't in the trailer for No Way Home. They have Matt Murdock.
They don't show Matt Murdock, which I hope they bring Charlie Cox in. Of course, all like the early leaks is like everyone's in the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? But,
just get everyone.
I hope they bring Matt Murdock in, specifically Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, because I don't know if you've seen the Netflix version of Daredevil, but
first 2 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, I think we watched first 2 seasons. We didn't watch the 3rd season, or at least we watched
good. We're on the same page. But I really like.
I think we watched the first 1 to 3 episodes of it, in which I wasn't being sold too well on it, but like how Charlie Cox plays Matt Murdock is fantastic. Like the drama, the seriousness,
I lost a lot of interest when I found out that the show had been canceled. And I was like, well, I could finish it, but I know it's going to end. And
that's the hope, right? Like with I guess them diving into the multiverse, like there is room to bring in Matt Murdock, whether they want to do it in a different universe, but it seems like it's the same universe with the scene that they kind of cut together of like a lawyer kind of talking with Spider-Man at some desk. Like,
the drones are yours.
Cool. Well, it'd just be like, all right, we're gonna have to figure out a way to get through this. Sorry, Pete. I guess, I don't know. And then Peter's just like, aren't you blind? How are you reading this?
Aren't you blind?
But I guess commenting
in this universe,
on that,
we've created time travel, but we can't solve blindness.
To be fair, I don't think Daredevil would be as cool and effective as a hero if he could see.
No, that's true. That's part of it.
I think his amplified hearing and sixth sense that he's kind of got as well.
What's your really superhero? Works. I'm blind.
I'm legally blind.
I'm legally blind. Yeah. No, I think they're touching on, like, I guess it is up for debate, is what I'm saying. Is like Peter's gonna have some evidence to give him an alibi and to say no, the footage isn't real. But the Peter Parker is Spider-Man thing, that he won't get away with as easily, and that seems to be what kicks off the whole plot of the next movie, which I think is appropriate because that's also taking Spider-Man in a direction we've never seen before. They've never really done this. So
yeah, I think we commented on it before, like either watching Tobey Maguire's run or Andrew Garfield's run. Like, it's a little bit more refreshing with like the superhero who kind of conned, or not really conned, but like established like the whole great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah,
I've got my I've got Peter Parker and I've got Spider-Man, like two people that I have to be. I can't have them intersect, or I can't let people know that I'm both entities. And they subverted that with Iron Man at the beginning of this whole entire cinematic universe that Marvel's built, and now they're doing it with Spider-Man.
They didn't want to do the secret identity thing, which I think was wise because it allowed them to go in new directions that most superhero movies hadn't gone before. So I'm glad that they're doing that same approach to Spider-Man because, especially after watching Maguire and Garfield, they're very different approaches, but they were still following that same formula of we got a kid in New York who likes a girl who's got to, weigh responsibility, and he can't keep both personalities. He can't stay on top of either person he's playing. And there's some villain that talks to himself. It kept getting into the point of
we need to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
No, we shouldn't.
We need some colorful villain to for some reason start hating Spider-Man. Doesn't really matter how. For the greater good of energy. So after watching 5 Spider-Man film that all kind of stuck to that formula, I've said this in the last review, but I understand why some hardcore Spider-Man fans might be annoyed about this involvement with the MCU because it feels like it's piggybacking so much off of Tony Stark and everything, but I think this is the more interesting way to go than to stick to the formula. And the other interesting direction you can take it, Sony already did with Into the Spider-Verse, I would say. If you want an independent, kind of isolated way of doing Spider-Man films that's not piggybacking off the MCU, that's the way to do it, and they're already doing it. So I think this is the right way of going about it, but I'm very interested to see how much screen time they give. I'm worried it's going to be another similar to the blip thing of like this huge cataclysmic event, and we kind of just gloss over it and try to get back to normal as quickly as possible. Like, they've got a lot to unpack in No Way Home between the multiverse and the new villains coming into fruition and probably introducing other Peter Parkers from the other franchises. That's going to take a lot of development, so I wonder how much time they're going to have to show how bad it is for Peter to not have a secret identity and everyone knows. Although I found it kind of funny that Aunt May is like giving speeches for Spider-Man in this one. I was like, do people question why this random lady from Queens is just willing to travel or be the spokesperson for Spider? Like, how did she get this job?
Yeah, how are you related to Spider-Man? Did he save you?
Who are
like, you? Well, did he save you from the weird family that you blipped into their house of, and they thought you were a ghost or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
I would say the association there is a little questionable. People would be like, so you're always traveling with Spider-Man doing these like fundraisers, but where is Peter when you do these fundraisers?
Yeah, if you're Aunt May, and I can easily Google this, finding that you're either brother or brother-in-law got killed somehow, and now you're caring for his son, who goes to Midtown High or whatever. Like,
yes.
Wait a second, and who's this kid that like you're talking with in a spider suit? Okay,
yeah.
Well, like now it's not like a question of like, come on, Aunt May, why don't you see that it's Peter who's Spider-Man? Like, come on, it's obvious. Now it's like, Aunt May, go away.
Yeah.
Like, now people are gonna know.
I did like that MJ figured it out. I thought that was refreshing.
I think it was interesting that they pinned her, or at least like they gave her a certain like light, or sorry, what am I trying to say? They put her in a certain light of like a conspiracy theorist of like, I'm pretty sure like Spider-Man is Peter Parker, or Peter Parker Spider-Man, because like he's been disappearing in all these like vacations that we do to different locations,
especially
and
Washington D.C. That was like the obvious one for her. She was like, you were missing, and then Spider-Man showed up, and then he's like, okay, I'm Spider-Man, and she was like, oh my god, I was only
60%,
67% sure.
But also like she's good. Obsessed with like murder mysteries and stuff.
Yes,
which I think is interesting, like the Black Dahlia.
Yes.
And they used to drown people on this bridge right here. Oh,
yeah, that scaled with the time well. I feel like all these like early Maguire MJ was just kind of annoying and frustrating, but it was like cliche theater acting, and then Gwen Stacy as Emma Stone was like a bit more natural, a bit more modern approach to dialogue and being romantic.
Einstein in a skirt.
Yeah. Einstein in a skirt. Felt like a rom-com watching them on screen together. And now this one is like, yeah, that's how high schoolers talk. There are like the dark comedy, the like sarcasm and skepticism on everything, and just kind of being overly negative of like, this was built by slaves, it always has little comments like that. And I was like, it's interesting that all the MJs have kind of, or Gwens have fit with the time period that the film came out with fairly well. So it'll be interesting to see how that ages. But
I do like the dynamic between Peter and MJ in this movie, even though it seems very rushed and sudden. Sure. I think how they talk with each other is perfect, because they're very awkward, like very much like kids or teenagers in high school. It's like, you want to go over here, or like, I'll save you a seat, I guess, if you want. We can watch it together. Does that sound good? Right. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Ned's relationship?
It somehow works. It's very strange, but it somehow works. Like, out of nowhere, they're like, oh yeah, Betty Brant, like, originally in Tobey Maguire's series, like, she works for J. Jonah, and now she's a kid, but, like, at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, like, this very, like, adult child, like, who's very mature, is just like, I kind of like this gamer kid. He's kind of cute. Okay.
It felt a little out of place, but the dialogue they had was very high school, of just like, they're now
babe,
that's, and then they're broken up by the end of the whole trip. I was like, that's exactly what happened in high school. It's people on and off like that. And he's that whole airplane scene was so well done, where they're trying to like get MJ and Pete sitting next to each other, so they talk about how he's allergic to perfume, and then the
Mr.
teachers
Harrington just butts in. He's like, all right, I got this. You go over here. These two students go over here, and then Pete, you sit with me because reasons.
that was so well done. Just of like how butchered the attempt was at getting them together, and she's stuck with Brad, and
very realistic though, right? Like you think as a kid, like, oh, I think I could probably sit next to that person. I just need to do this, and then the teacher butts in. They're like, oh, there's something wrong with you. Here, I've got an idea. And you're like, no, get out of this.
And Flash is trying to pass off that he's 21 because 5 years have gone by and he was blipped.
Flash is one of my favorite characters in this movie just because of the fact that we finally get more of this bully. Like in the last two movies, we've only gotten like maybe 5 minutes with Flash total. Yeah. Like, I guess if you add both of them, maybe 10 minutes.
They like completely ignore him in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. He's like gone.
He just disappears. And then in was it the Raimi series, like he's only there just to serve as I wouldn't fight me neither. I wouldn't fight me neither. That's what it is. And this instead, like, because they're sticking with high school or like very young kids in high school. Yeah. It's very much like, oh yeah, he's still here. Like, of course he's on this vacation. He's rich. Why wouldn't he go to Europe? And
he loves Spider-Man, but he hates Peter, which is a nice. I can't wait to see his reaction in No Way Home. That should be a nice realization we haven't seen yet.
Again, like, there's so much stuff they have to cram into No Way Home. It's going to be insane. They've only got 2 hours and 28 minutes according to Google. That's the runtime for No Way Home. Like, they've only got 2 hours and 28 minutes. I hope that they at least devote 30 seconds to a minute of Flash just being like having a mental breakdown. Like, wait, no, this is fake. This can't be real. Like, Penis Parker and Spider-Man? No.
So who's Night Monkey?
Just have Night Monkey come in.
I like Night Monkey. That's a good name.
Yeah, what'd you think of the suits in this movie, Drew? Like, we got
they were nice.
3 or 4. We got almost all, like, 5 suits, I guess, if you're counting the Illusion scenes as well.
Yeah, he went back to his like OG suit in the Illusion, which was cool. Yeah, I liked it. The what do you call it? Nick Fury made outfit was kind of interesting. It looked a lot more realistic as like a ninja outfit instead of just, red and blue with lines and everything. I was like, I don't know what purpose those serve, but yeah, once he designed his own suit, it was kind of peak for me because the Avengers suit that he had in Endgame and Infinity War, it's kind of like extremely metallic, kind of overly powerful, which
a little bit too MCU.
Yeah, it was kind of overkill, and the suit going on and off kept stressing me out. I was like, you're walking outside, put it on. And it was just, I don't know, maybe the suit has a way of detecting when people are coming and it knows when to shield, but I don't know. There was a scene where he was like walking out to the crowd and he still had the mask off, and I was like, you're not trying very hard to be discreet. And like the last second before he walks outside, and I was like, okay. Like, you kind of deserve to not have a secret identity when you're being this careless about it, You just, as soon as he walks backstage, he takes it off. So, yeah, the new suit's good. I like the costume design of Mysterio as well. And, yeah, a lot of variety. I'm trying to think if we've had a Spider-Man film with this many suits all put together like we had.
It's a bunch of different ones. It's been Iron Man-ified, right? Like in every single Iron Man there's a new suit, and we haven't really gotten that with Spider-Man. Like in the Raimi series, it's kind of just the same suit each time. I don't think there's many changes. In the same,
they just turn it black. That's it.
And I guess in Amazing Spider-Man maybe we get like a minor change, but it's not like a crazy
it was pretty similar between the two movies. They didn't change much.
Where in Homecoming and Far From Home we get drastic changes. Like we get from like
a hoodie with binoculars.
I'll never get over that scene from Civil War. But yeah, from just a hoodie with binoculars to the Stark suit to the Iron Spider suit, and then to a Night Monkey suit, and then finally the I
Peterbilt
Far From Home. Yeah, I don't know what to call it. Would we call it just? Is it the new UK suit in a way? Because there is actually like a Spider-Man UK suit, but it looks a little bit. I don't know. I think it's got like a Union Jack on it as well.
Yeah,
it's a little bit on the nose. But the red and black looks really cool. Like the
like
blue, just red and black, like really clean. Almost seems like how apps are designed these days. Like, very like simple. Whether it's like just the icon where it's like, oh yeah, it's just a circle and then maybe some colors and that's it. Like, no detail.
That reminds me that Aunt May packed the suit and they search it at the airport and the TSA doesn't care at all. They're just like,
no banana.
Yeah. I don't know what the TSA has. Like, you could sneak something in that banana. But, like, once again, it ties into that thing of, like, not trying to hide your identity very hard at all. Because everyone sees that suit and the lady's just like, whatever, and hands it back.
Well, yeah, I guess, like, in the age of heroes, there's a lot of...
That's true.
Costumes, right? Like, even in... was it Into the Spider-Verse, like Miles puts on a suit that he buys from a convenience store from Stan Lee. Like,
that's true.
It's not, you don't really look at a superhero and you're like, whoa, like that must be a superhero. Instead it's just like, oh, you're just a fan. And
yeah.
The TSA lady also like doesn't really care about whether, wait, is this Spider-Man? She's like, it's probably just some dude who likes Spider-Man, but also why no banana.
There's so many superheroes in this universe. Spider-Man's kind of an afterthought. No one really cares. They're like, here's that young kid. Everyone's talking about Iron Man. They've got him plastered on every screen, every billboard. Want to know how they knew what happened, right? Because there weren't really cameras during the battle. So did the survivors say like, by the way, everyone, Tony saved you. He's the reason we're all back. So we were like, okay,
also,
let's put Tony everywhere.
This one agent that we've never talked about, Black Widow, yeah, she's dead. And then also the android.
Well, she went to this other planet where someone had to die in order.
And there's the Red Skull that Captain America fought or whatever. Like, Clint did not give this debrief to like someone who was going to spread it to everyone. And Clint's the only one who knew.
I would have asked Hulk to snap a few more things, you know. There's a lot of problems we could solve with this gauntlet, you know.
His arm just becomes shriveled at this point because he already did it once and like it wrecked his arm, and it's just like,
let's cure all cancer. You know, let's end world hunger.
Let's solve the energy crisis.
Yeah. There's a few more snaps we could do before we return all these stones. Also, like, if you can bring people back to life with the Infinity Gauntlet, why is any hero remaining dead?
Well, I think that's what they say in Endgame. Like, Bruce tried really hard to bring back Nat, and he couldn't for some reason. But then, like, they also like show in No Way Home, like, it doesn't matter if your Nat's dead. We could just get another Nat from another multiverse or something.
That's what happened to Gamora, right?
Yeah, I guess
she dies, but they get it. They get it. I was like, if Gamora can live, why can't Black Widow? They died in the same.
Just grab her in an alternate universe, but you grab her right before she falls. Like, like Strange said, there's like, I forget how many different like iterations or possibilities of them winning against Thanos, and there's only one apparently for some reason that actually works out well.
I was like, I can think of another one where Chris Pratt doesn't punch Thanos in the face as they're about to get the gauntlet off. I was like,
yeah,
what about one where Chris was not an idiot?
This is kind of the issue with like time travel and what if and everything. Yeah. It's like, well, hold on,
doesn't work.
Like, it might delve into more chaos, but also like,
well, what's kind of made me laugh, Mysterio in this one was like, I'm from Earth 3-6 something, and this is Earth, and this is Earth 892. I was like, so you're saying there's like 1,000 different multiverses? That's like relatively low.
Or he knows the numbers somehow.
Or we just so happen to be really, really low, because my concept of the multiverse is that there's like an infinite number of variables and possibilities. So the idea that both of you are within the low hundreds is kind of amazing. If there's probably billions of multiverses. They were like describing them with 3 digits. I was like, so there's only 1,000 multiverses? That's it?
What, do you want like a VIN number, Drew? Like 0000338?
Maybe they're close by, but they're still like billions, but they're just numbering them in the hundreds because of... It's like, who decided which reality was Earth 0? You know, why did this...
We don't talk about Earth 0.
We're 800 okay, sounds good. I don't know, but it turned out to be fake, so it doesn't matter. So there's still a multiverse, but he wasn't from it, so who cares? Maybe
it is
Doctor
interesting
Strange
how
can
they
tell
deal
us.
with Mysterio as well. Like, they make him almost like a Doctor Strange Iron Man in a way. I mean, they comment on it in the movie, but he's very much like the mystical, but also the, I guess, more of mystical. I don't know. Like, they don't really give him like the mystical vibe necessarily that Doctor Strange has. Yeah, they give him more of like an Iron Man feel, which I guess makes sense because they're like, oh, give the glasses to the Iron Man guy. Yeah, but I don't know. His powers were interesting to me. They didn't really explain it either, which I guess was kind of nice. They weren't like saying, "Oh yeah, my power is to do this." Right? Get it, audience? I do this. And
my wife called him Fishbowl Man.
Doing Mysterio is tough, right? Because like in the comics, he is Fishbowl Man basically, and then adapting that to the screen is really tough because you don't want to make it look too corny and campy and stupid. Yeah. But they somehow did it. Like they somehow made it look amazing with like the smoke always like wisping around in there, and then the suit doesn't look too terrible. Right.
I remember thinking Lava Monster feels a little cliche, but then you find out later none of it's real, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is more interesting. But I'm kind of glad it wasn't just the elementals, and that's the whole plot, because they were kind of generic, but I think that was intentional, because they were fake. They came up with
bring
within
in the
plot.
Avatar to solve this.
It's just like, this, you gotta fight this monster that's made of lava. It was like, okay. What video game are we playing? But I guess that's the point. It was made up. So it's not a real thing. I don't know if they were real in the comics, but this is another Shang-Chi moment where the Mandarin is not what we think, but then 5 movies later we'll get, these are the real ones, though. These aren't projected.
Are we going to get the Eternals against the actual elementals later, I guess? Yeah. I don't know.
No, they can only fight robot dogs. Doesn't matter if there's any other peril or danger going on in the universe, they have to fight robot dogs. Nothing else.
That's pretty funny. I still haven't seen Eternals, so that just makes it sound even more hilarious and interesting to me.
It's kind of clunky, in my view. Eternals is the first movie I've seen that I actually think being in the MCU makes it worse. I think it could have done better outside of it, because they have to keep writing these loopholes as to why they aren't involved in things. They're like,
why weren't you... It gets a little bit tough at this point.
Why weren't you there with Thanos? It's like, oh, well, our prime directive is to only fight these robot dogs, and we can't fight anything else. I was like, so you're saying when half the universe is wiped out, you're like, not important, we can't intervene? Like, probably them as well. Wouldn't they be part of that? Like,
it's kind of tough at this point as well, right? Like, you also think, well, there's also the X-Men and also the Fantastic Four and a bunch of others. Like,
right?
Why aren't they here? I guess this is just the reality we live in, where I guess the Eternals you could kind of write around like, oh yeah, we have a code that we abide by, I guess. But like the X-Men, like, I guess maybe they just don't exist, and then because of the multiverse, then they exist.
Seen them be as present in the MCU. I mean, they had the Quicksilver cameo in WandaVision, but that's about it.
That's Ralph Boner. That's not Quicksilver.
Or whoever. Same power, different universe.
Oh no, I mean, MCU. He is Quicksilver, but it turns out at the end, it's just a guy named Ralph Boner. Not even. You don't remember that?
Vaguely. I forgot his last name.
It will be interesting to see how this goes. Like, they've got the television series that they've all got teed up. So
yes,
if they want to go in that direction of Spider-Man, they can. But they can go in many different directions, no matter what way they go, and we can get really cool and different aspects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we've never seen before, which is neat. Whether they want to do like a Miles Morales series. I did want to comment, though. I think we talked about either the last podcast or the podcast before. We were unsure if Tom Holland was going to be done at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Our good friend that we talked about as well, Amy Pascal, who was known for throwing a sandwich at Kevin Feige for trying to get Spider-Man in the MCU. did confirm, I think, on Twitter recently. So again, audience, you know how dated this podcast is from when you've heard the news and when you're listening to this. She did confirm that, like, this is the closing of Tom Holland's first chapter of Spider-Man, I think is how she said it.
Okay.
So it's not like chapter. Tom Holland is done. It's just more of, this is the end of Tom Holland's, like, Spider-Man as we knew it, with, like, being a kid. And she might be teasing at, oh, well, now we get college Tom Holland's Spider-Man or whatever.
Oh, thank God. I really hope that's the case.
Yeah. I would like to see more of, like, a Peter B. Parker, or at least, like, some type of mature Parker, and then
I thought, when they cast him and Aunt May and everything, I was like, I thought the purpose of choosing people super duper young was so that you could actually pick one actor and stick with it for a long time. And
like
I was hoping
to, or more.
Yeah, I was hoping to break this 3-movie curse that Spider-Man can't seem to break. I guess you can count the Avengers and Civil War and stuff, but still, I just feel like he's a really great Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He's got, like, a good amount of balance, and we've now given him, I'm sure, now with No Way Home as well, like, a perfect launch base. It's kind of a very intricate origin story, because he's still kind of finding out who he is, and he's still learning.
We still haven't seen Uncle Ben.
Yeah, there's still no Uncle Ben, but, like, you could set up a really great new, in my opinion, this should be the lead of the Avengers. Like, he should be the new Tony Stark, because, you know, Spider-Man's super popular, everyone likes Spider-Man, and he worked with the original Avengers, so he can kind of carry that through. I don't know, I just don't get that same vibe with Shang-Chi or the Eternals or Doctor Strange. They're all interesting, but just having someone that was kind of there for the Endgame battle and everything, and who was young but still can mature and get older, I think that would be far more interesting than saying, okay, we're gonna just abandon that character now and move on to something else. We got to restart this whole origin story process again. I'm like, okay, how many times do we? So
I do find it both interesting and a really cool investment in the fact that, like, Tom Holland's Spider-Man has been through all these crazy events in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like heroes fighting heroes banding together to fight a greater evil,
right?
Mystery and thievery and all that. Like, he's experienced it all, and then, like, to bring him to the point where, like, we've seen him, hopefully, I hope this happens, like, in a decade he's still Spider-Man, or, like, maybe he's getting done with Spider-Man in 5 to 10, or I guess, like, maybe 6 to 10 years, I hope, because there is some burnout with being the same character forever.
Oh, sure.
But like,
that's probably what's going on. I mean, I'm not in Tom Holland's position, but I could imagine he's been working on this stuff for years and years and years, and he's basically dedicated his whole life to playing this character. So by now he's probably like, can I move on to other things? And we're all like, no, keep going. he might be done, you know. So they can only negotiate so much.
Yeah, it might just become a Eddie Murphy situation where it's like, all right, you're the funny black guy in this movie. And it's like,
he was kind of done with that.
I don't want to be the funny black guy in this movie anymore. I want to do something else, more serious or more different, which some actors have done. Like, I totally forget the guy's name who was in the Mummy series, the original Mummy series.
Oh, Brandon Fraser.
Like, he took a break, a long break, and then came back for, like, Doom Patrol and other things. And, like, I think that's healthy and nice. Like, it's good for him to be like, I know my limits. I'm done playing this type of action hero like Tom Cruise or whatever. I want to do something else. And I think that's, hopefully that doesn't happen on the magnitude that we've seen before with other actors with Tom Holland. But at least, like, I don't know. Can we get at least, like, maybe 1 or 2 more movies with Tom Holland and then call it a day? Like, it'd be enough for me. At least, like, breaking, like you said, the weird 3 Spider-Man movie trope and then stopping. Like, give us a 4th and 5th, like, dedicated, like, yeah, we've got Avengers and Civil War, but, like, give us...
They've never had, like, an intentional closure, I feel like. Like, the Maguire trilogy was kind of canceled after production on the 4th had already started, so they didn't really get to expand on him with MJ much. or him
Harry dying
without Harry. They didn't really get to go in that direction. And Andrew Garfield's even worse because they were like had the whole movie ready, and then he was like, "Nope, I'm out." So they didn't get to follow up on all these things they set up with his parents and with May and with Gwen dying. You know, there's so little they got to. I mean, the whole fight scene didn't even end. We couldn't even wrap up that scene. So I would just appreciate, you know, I always like it when one actor or one character gets to stay around for a long time. I have like tremendous respect for like the Harry Potter films because of all the actors they got to stick with it for so long.
They only lost a few because they died.
Yeah, and it wasn't because they weren't interested. Yeah, they like literally died, so they can't come back. But everyone that was alive like kept coming back to the same characters in the same roles, between Hagrid and Snape and McGonagall and Hermione and Ron, like Malfoy. Like you had such a large cast that was like, "Yep, we'll do it. Yep, we'll do it," and I loved that. And I'm even with sitcoms, like I loved Frasier, and he was playing that character on Cheers for like 10 years, and then he played Frasier on Frasier for like another 11 years. He's like 20 years of commitment to that character. So Tom Holland as Peter Parker, I think they've got a unique opportunity with his age and with his background to actually show the maturing and the aging and then the retirement process and probably even the passing of the baton to someone else, because everyone loves rebooting Spider-Man. But I want to see how long they can go without having to with this one. So
yeah, I think it came at a good time with Far From Home, where Sony started accepting, okay, I guess we'll do more collaboration. We won't be as stingy as we were in the past.
Although it was in jeopardy for a little bit. I don't know if you remember.
It was for a little bit, but I guess hindsight now, like we're looking at now, we've got like Morbius coming out at the beginning of next year, and that's got like, I think it's got Vulture in it. It's got, I think Eddie Brock maybe's in it as well. And
oh, wow.
I think J. Jonah Jameson's in there as well. Like, we don't know what's going on in the Sony universe, but it kind of makes sense now with like the Marvel Cinematic Universe splitting into a multiverse, because they're different companies doing their own different things, but at least we've already got like this cinematic universe where it makes sense. Like, okay, yeah, it's all right if like Sony's doing their own thing and Marvel's doing their own thing, because they can just interlace them together saying, well, it's actually this universe that we're talking about that they're interacting. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Anyways, final thoughts, Drew. Anything that comes to mind that you want to say about this movie?
Decent, I guess, if I got to do my one-word review. Decent as in not fantastic, but still well done, well executed. I like the character stuff, but the motivations and the technology was a little clunky, but still a very complicated, intricate plot that they explained fairly well, and it was digestible. Wasn't too hard to wrap your brain around, but I think I never watched Homecoming and Far From Home back to back before. Now, having watched them back to back, I think I prefer Homecoming a tad more. Maybe because I just like Iron Man so much. That one has Iron Man, so it's my favorite. But it gets me excited even more so for No Way Home. So I feel ready. I feel like I've done my homework. I'm good to go. I've seen it all.
I guess the only other one that we have is Into the Spider-Verse, and maybe we'll get to it, maybe we won't. We'll see. If not, we can always do it after.
That's true.
No Way Home, and we can be like, oh well, how does this multiverse event compare to Sony's multiverse event that's a good was point. Established in 2019? Because actually,
that might be a better way to do it, since you don't need to watch Spider-Verse to understand No Way Home.
No, it's more of a commentary on here's how Sony did it in an animated fashion versus Marvel in their live action fashion.
Yeah.
Do
you have closing thoughts?
I would say maybe not a closing thought, but I guess if this is the last movie we're reviewing before No Way Home, I really hope the next direction they take Peter Parker, if he lives, which I think he's going to live through this No Way Home, I hope they introduce Harry in college in the next Spider-Man movie after No Way Home.
Oh, that's a good point.
Maybe that's something we could talk about when we review No Way Home, in which we will. We'll have it out by the, I guess, a week mark after it's been in theaters for a while. But I'm really hoping they introduce Harry at some point. Like, it was kind of a little bit contrived with shoving him in at the last minute for Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I think if Tom Holland's staying around for a while, it makes sense if they're going the college route to put Harry in college, and that's where Tom meets Harry and they start a relationship.
No, that's a good point. I think that would be a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, they could get Osborn and everything like it. It makes sense, especially with the multiverse. All right. Well, with that, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us on this fantastic adventure. We are not done. We will still have No Way Home to review and possibly Into the Spider-Verse. If there's any other movies you want us to review, we're more than happy to check it out. Drew, if you want to join me on those, you can. Otherwise, I'm going to, hopefully, I guess my New Year's resolution is to output content on my own, or at least more content on my own besides trailer reviews. So,
cool. Nice.
Look forward to those.
More content, people. It's coming.
All the content. All right. With that, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.